time to drop shop and run.
Well, if there's one thing I didn't expect to be playing this week, it was a brand new game by Titanfall developer Respawn Entertainment, but here we are. Apex Legends is a free-to-play Battle Royale game published by EA and developed by Respawn that was both announced and then released straight away on Monday evening. Although rumours began to surface that the game was on its way a few days before the official reveal, it was still a surprise to hear that not only were Respawn working on a new game other than their current Star Wars project, but that it was set within their criminally underrated Titanfall universe. On paper, the thought of a studio now owned by EA releasing a free-to-play Battle Royale game linked, even tangentially, to a franchise that has famously underperformed may reek of nothing more than a cheap cash grab. It's important to remember that Respawn Entertainment create nothing but great fucking video games. But before I begin rattling on about the game and why I really liked it, I think it's important to first understand who Respawn Entertainment are, and why Apex Legends is more than just another throwaway entry in the Battle Royale genre. Respawn are a strange company. Founded in 2010 by Jason West and Vince Zampella, the two lovely boys responsible for the Call of Duty franchise, Respawn Entertainment was first unveiled to the public whilst West and Zampella were involved in an alleged $500 million lawsuit against previous employer Activision regarding unpaid bonuses for their work on Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. Suffice to say, there was a lot of buzz surrounding the pair's new venture, with many feeling that with the figureheads of Infinity Ward gone, that Call of Duty was done for. How could Activision ever recover from such a monumental loss of talent? What would come next from the brains behind the most compelling multiplayer experience of the decade? What would West and Zampella do next? All would be revealed at E3 2013, when Respawn Entertainment announced Titanfall, a multiplayer-only first-person shooter exclusive to the Xbox One. In hindsight, that sentence reads like an obituary, but at the time, Titanfall looked set to be the definitive next-generation multiplayer experience. It was developed by the folks behind Call of Duty. It was exclusive to the next iteration of the world's most popular console. That aged like milk. Gameplay looked fluid and kinetic, a world apart from Call of Duty which looked slow and outdated in comparison. Initial trailers promised fast-paced gunplay combined with equally responsive mech combat. When Titanfall released in 2014, critics and fans alike were delighted to find a game that delivered upon those promises. Titanfall is still, in my mind, one of the greatest multiplayer experiences ever made. Players controlled pilots, highly experienced super soldiers that could fluidly move through an environment using parkour. Pilots could double jump, wall run, clamber up ledges and leap across rooftops. At the time, the degree of movement afforded to the player felt revolutionary, a genuine advancement of the FPS genre on consoles that had continued to rely heavily on the formula defined by Call of Duty Modern Warfare, released 7 years prior.
You got it. Stand by for Titanfall. Bish, I'm tracking McAllen's team in the sewers. Doing okay so far.
Copy that. Keep your fingers crossed.
Titans, summoned by players after charging a meter, were hulking behemoths that towered over the battlefield but moved as fluidly as the pilots that controlled them. The game of Titanfall felt like an exhilarating ballet, pilots zipping between tight corridors, engaging in tense, slit gunfights as roaring titans exchanged blows in the more open spaces surrounding them. Games were filled with NPC soldiers, acting as Titanfall's equivalent to MOBA's creeps, enemies that could be swiftly dispatched but still contributed towards charging your ability to call in a Titan. Not only that, but NPC soldiers allowed players to feel like they were contributing to the overall flow of the match, achieving regular eliminations even when there were no human-controlled players in the area. I mean, why this hasn't found its way into more online shooters is beyond me. This was such an inspired way of keeping low-level players feeling engaged. At the end of a round, losing players had the opportunity to escape from the map by jumping aboard a dropship. Respawns were disabled, resulting in losing players dashing madly across the environment, moving between gunfire in an effort to retain a shred of dignity from a losing situation. Enemy Titans even had the opportunity to shoot down the dropship before it had a chance to ferry survivors to safety. Genius. It also featured this sequence for ejecting yourself from a dying Titan. Oh, would you look at that? Lovely. What a lovely game. Gives me goosebumps every time I think about it. Despite all this, Titanfall failed to find an audience. There's a few reasons for this, although it's hard to pin the blame onto something specific. The Xbox One had failed to gain traction following its disastrous launch in late 2013, with player bases transitioning to the PlayStation 4 instead. The game launched exclusively via Origin on PC, which in 2014 was a death knell in of itself. Titanfall was, for a long time on PC, ludicrously overpriced. EA's draconian DLC model certainly didn't help either. further, with additional map paths dividing an already dwindling community to minuscule numbers. Also, Titanfall was a multiplayer-only first-person shooter, which at the time was a new concept for a full-priced AAA title. With Call of Duty still offering somewhat lengthy single-player campaigns alongside its multiplayer suite, Titanfall was a tougher sell to consumers. Why would fans buy into a brand new franchise, when the one they already knew and loved was offering more content for the same price? Despite being a remarkable achievement, Titanfall fell victim to nothing other than circumstance. It was, quite simply, in the wrong place at the wrong time. Later that same year, Call of Duty Advanced Warfare was released, implementing the majority of the parkour movement mechanics from Titanfall to unanimous praise from both critics and consumers alike. In October 2016, Respawn and EA took another shot at the Titanfall franchise with the release of Titanfall II. Learning from the mistakes made with the original release, Titanfall 2 launched on both Xbox One, PC and PS4, with a fully featured single-player mode and a greatly enhanced multiplayer suite. Its single-player, in which players assumed the role of protagonist Jack Cooper and embarked on a planet-hopping adventure with their sentient Titan friend BT-7274, is easily the best single-player FPS adventure since Half-Life 2. I'm aware that's no small claim to make, but that's just how monumentally great Titanfall 2's single-player campaign really is. Titanfall 2's brief single-player mode demonstrates a level of quality so high that it almost feels like the Nintendo-developed first-person shooter. Each mission experiments with new toys and gameplay mechanics, throwing them aside in favour of something fresh before the old ones get too stale. The fluid traversal systems from the first game made their return, given space to be properly explored and utilised in more carefully crafted environments than those found in the game's multiplayer maps. Cause and effect. A level in which players navigate a building whilst hopping between two separate time periods is literally perfect. A complex web of systems and mechanics working together in sublime harmony in a way few games could even hope of replicating. Showing off this level feels like spoiling a crucial twist in a 100-hour long RPG. That's how good this level is. I feel like not letting you experience it for yourself is a spoiler. If you haven't played Titanfall 2, the game can be picked up for as low as £3 digitally on consoles these days. If you have any love for bombastic set pieces, tight shooting mechanics and inventive level design, you owe it to yourself to give this game a try. Titanfall 2's multiplayer suite offered a stellar experience that built upon the original game's rock-solid foundation, and in a rare move by EA at the time, all additional DLC was given to players for free. Titanfall 2 was met with an overwhelmingly positive critical reception, going on to be one of the most popular games of 20... I'm kidding, it died straight away then. Details on whose decision it was to release a sequel that represented a second chance for a franchise that was criminally overlooked between the two biggest first-person shooters of 2016, one of which was also published by EA, what the fuck, are muddy. But whether or not it was Respawn or EA's fault doesn't really matter. What matters is that once again, one of the most revolutionary first-person shooters ever created flopped straight out of the gate. Again, how this happened twice is beyond me. It's Call of Duty with giant robots. How is this not the most popular franchise in the world? Respawn Entertainment, a company that creates incredible games that nobody plays. What kind of monkey-paw wish did West and Zampella make when they left Activision? In 2018, Vince Zampella rocked up to EA's annual Cringe Fest to announce that Respawn's next project would be a Star Wars game, delivering the news with a stare that seemed to scream, if the only way we're going to get you lot to play our games is to make them set within the f***ing Star Wars universe, then I guess we're just going to have to make a f***ing Star Wars game. Not much is known about Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order at this point, but it's safe to say that it'll definitely end up being the best Star Wars game to be released by EA since becoming the exclusive publishers of Star Wars games. Again, what kind of monkey-paw wishes are being made over at EA for these things to keep happening? It seemed that, understandably, Respawn was done with the Titanfall franchise. Or so we thought, anyway. After two commercial failures, Respawn are back again with Apex Legends, a free-to-play first-person shooter battle royale with MOBA-esque hero characters. Apex sounds like exactly the kind of game we've been waiting for EA to publish for some time now, and upon initial inspection of that buzzword-heavy description, it's understandable to be cynical, but to do so would be unfair, because Apex Legends is exactly the kind of multiplayer experience I'd expect from Respawn Entertainment. Arriving arguably around 6 months too late to the battle royale party, Apex still delivers a fun multiplayer experience that manages to feel unique. I've only played about 10 hours of the game so far at this point, but I still reckon it's one of the best interpretations of the Battle Royale format I've seen so far. All of the usual elements you'd expect to hear. Players jump onto a large island filled with multiple points of interest from a dropship that travels across the map in a random direction each round. Players start with nothing and must scavenge equipment and weapons from buildings and supply crates. After a certain amount of time, the play area is slowly reduced into a circle by a big bad wall of red electricity or whatever. So far, so Battle Royale. Apex's initial twist on the genre comes in the form of Overwatch-style heroes, the titular Legends. Legends come complete with a small number of abilities and one ultimate, and are divided into 4 roles: offensive, defensive, tactical and support. Similar still to Blizzard's hero shooter, abilities are designed to assist fellow team members rather than players themselves. Lifeline's healing drone, for example, can quickly patch up companions, while Bloodhound's obnoxiously named Eye of the Allfather temporarily reveals the locations of nearby enemies and traps. Granting players predefined strengths and abilities before they even drop into the play area is a refreshing addition to a genre that traditionally relies on starting players on a level playing field. Apex's character classes may not dramatically change how a player approaches a round, but it certainly forces them to be more mindful of how their unique set of abilities can help their teammates during the course of a match. You see, Apex forces all players to compete in squads of 3. At first this decision seems limiting, especially seeing as the thrill of other titles in the genre such as Fortnite and PUBG is surviving overwhelming odds all by yourself. But after a few rounds you come to realise this is a very clever design decision by Respawn. Teams of 3, wherein each player embodies a separate character class, there are no duplicates allowed here, creates interesting dynamics that change from round to round. Lifeline can revive teammates with help from a shield that absorbs incoming damage, whilst Bangalore launches a smoke grenade to disorientate an enemy squad. Wraith can create a portal to allow a wounded Mirage, who has deployed a team of decoys to confuse the enemy, to travel to a safer location in order to heal, whilst Gibraltar holds in a mortar strike to hold down his defensive position. On top of the usual random loot drops, this interplay between squads makes for a battle royale that feels more tactical and intelligent than its peers, one that rewards smart thinking and an understanding of its underlying systems. It's a surprisingly intimate game, where working together as a team is essential to achieving victory. All of this wouldn't work as well as it does if it wasn't for Apex's ingenious pin mechanic. If you're like me, a lonely boy who doesn't really play online games with friends very often, the idea of playing a tactics-based battle royale game with strangers sounds like literally the worst thing ever. The first thing I do in any multiplayer game is disable voice chat completely, because I'm perfectly capable of criticising my own abilities without the help of strangers, thank you very much. The pin button, mapped to R1 on a PS4 controller and a click of the mouse wheel on PC, allows players to notify teammates about loot, enemies and other context-sensitive commands. It's a system so stunningly effective, it's a wonder as to how it's never been thought of before. It's just so simple. You see a loot container in the distance? Look at it and tap the pin button. You want to explore an area with your team? Look at it and tap the pin button. You see enemies on the horizon? Double tap the pin button to alert your squad. Your squad pins something? Tap the pin button to acknowledge it. I really don't like saying the word pin this much, it makes me uncomfortable. The system is bolstered by the Legends themselves, who do a great job of offering chatty prompts both in tandem with the pin system and in reaction to contextual events occurring within the match itself. You hit a pin on a level 1 helmet, your Legend will announce its presence to the team.
Body shield here. Level 3.
You pin an enemy, your Legend will alert the rest of the squad. A new circle has been created, one Legend on your team will let you know how far away it is, or will provide reassurance that everyone in the squad is already within it safely.
Warning. Ring closing.
We're all inside the ring. Good.
Care package being delivered.
It's an impeccable system. Pinning completely revolutionises team-based multiplayer. The major flaw of cooperative multiplayer has always been communication, and the pin system completely solves it. It's not a new idea. Portal 2 had a very similar system in its co-op mode, but used in this way, implemented this flawlessly, it's astounding, and it makes playing with strangers a genuine joy. And I never thought I'd say that. I don't resent having to play with strangers. If Respawn are good at anything, it's making games that feature solid shooting and movement mechanics, and Apex is no exception. Guns are weighty and snappy, they all feel distinctly different from one another and encourage disparate playstyles as a result. Movement is limited, especially when compared to the more parkour-focused Titanfall, but still feels tight and fit for purpose. You may not be able to wall run or double jump, but the combat slide that increases the player's speed when going downhill feels incredibly satisfying to utilise. A lack of fall damage helps too, especially when traversing the map's more vertical locations. And oh, what a map this is. Thane's Canyon may be an island purpose-built for a futuristic theme show, but it carries with it a lot of the subtle world-building techniques that Respawn utilised in Titanfall. Shantytowns give way to towering dams and factories. An underground market feels dense and compact, especially when compared to the long stretches of desert, forest and streams that fill in the gaps between loot-heavy points of interest. Huge beasts lounge around in the ocean just off the coast, colossal reminders of the potential Apex's predecessor promised in delivering a fully featured sci-fi world. Ah, what I would give to explore that world more thoroughly. Luckily I won't have to wait too long to do so, seeing as though Respawn are currently working on another Titanfall project that's set to release later this year. What a great year to be a fan of that series nobody played. Apex Legends is great. In my mind, it's a worthy successor to Titanfall, an intelligent theme that proves that Titanfall and its sequel were special for reasons more fundamental and abstract than their wall running and giant mets. It was about smart design that advanced a genre. It was about putting fun front and centre, creating an experience that felt great to play. There's so much of that DNA to be found in Apex Legends, in the pin system which revolutionises multiplayer communication, in its character classes which add depth and complexity to a simplistic genre, in its respawn system which feels like the solution to one of Battle Royale's biggest problems when playing with friends, where being killed straight away meant waiting for the next game to begin before you had a chance to play then, in its game show aesthetic which allows for 100 aim style champions and kill leaders to be plastered on animated billboards across the map, in its weapons and items, in its visual design, in the way it just moves and feels to play. This is a super polished game too, probably the first in the genre that feels properly AAA, whatever that means. Animations are wonderful, legends are personable and well designed, and the overall presentation makes games feel tense and exciting. Simply jumping out of the dropship in perfect formation with your squad feels borderline emotional. I had to do a whole video just on this landing sequence alone. I genuinely love it. Best landing animation of 2019. Slap an award on the screen, future me. There we go. Lovely. This is a game as exhilarating as it is fun, where exploring is as enjoyable as its firefights, where careful planning and communication is achieved with a single button press. A battle royale that refreshes the formula, but still manages to make that coveted win as satisfying as it is elsewhere. It's incredible. I liked it a lot. Respawn Entertainment are long overdue a win. Titanfall and its sequel were criminally overlooked, till by external factors largely out of their control. With Apex Legends launched as soon as it was announced in a conscious effort to avoid backlash, free to play and in the industry's most popular genre, it feels like Respawn may finally have a game that receives the audience they've long deserved. There's still a chance it may not. We only need to look as far as Lawbreakers to understand that a good game in a popular genre does not immediately equal a guaranteed player base, but I really genuinely hope that Apex Legends succeeds. It may not be the Titanfall 3 we hoped for, but in the interim period until that game inevitably does appear, it's more than a fine replacement. So there we have it, some loose thoughts about Apex Legends, Respawn Entertainment and the Titanfall franchise. If you have any loose thoughts you'd like to share on any of those things, please leave a comment below. If you like this video, you can give it a like and subscribe to 7 out of 10 for more stuff like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.